Hello everyone and welcome back to Nathrand's Guide to Everything, and welcome back to another episode of The Legend Forge. Today we have a cracking episode for you. We're going to be covering Ezio Auditore de Firenze from the Assassin's Creed series. Really excited for this one, and thank you for Will in the comments for suggesting this one. Really appreciate it. If you've been enjoying this series, please leave a like, comment and subscribe with any characters you'd like to see me cover in future. Always open to it. And yes, my surroundings are a little bit different. I'm currently visiting some family, so that's why, in case you wondered. We'll be back to the normal setup very soon, though, I would imagine. Without further ado, let's jump into this week's episode of The Legend Forge. Hope you enjoyed that. Welcome back to D&D Beyond. We're going to go over to my characters, and as you will see, spoilers, we've made two different versions of him today to represent his journey over the course of the Assassin's Creed games. We have a level 13 character and a level 20 character, which does span him across two different tiers of play, as it were. We're going to be going for the level 13 one first, so I'll show you what I've done here. Let's jump into edit. So for our race for Ezio, we're going for a variant human today. Language doesn't really make much difference to us. We have gone for an ability score increase. We get 2 as a variant human. We've gone for Dex and Charisma because he's a very charismatic guy and he's also very dexterous as an assassin. For our skills, we've gone with Perception out the gate. And for our feat, we've actually gone with Ritual Caster Wizard. Now this might sound like a weird one, but just bear with us. So we've got illusory script for like leaving markers for other assassins is how I would kind of determine this, and Find Familiar for obviously our Eagle Vision, Eagle Sense and things like that you actually do get across the course of the 3 games. It's just to represent those synchronization moments and things like that. He does have this Eagle Companion, it seems, or someone looking out for him at least. So moving on to the classes, we have 10 levels in Rogue and 3 levels in Fighter Battlemaster. So the idea behind this is essentially he's very skilled with the sword, but equally his main advantage that he has is his stealth expertise and being able to assassinate people, kill them very quickly. But if he does get into a fight, he's very capable as well. Even from the young age when we see him in Assassin's Creed 2, takes to it very well. So proficiencies wise, we've gone for acrobatics, stealth, athletics and deception. Athletics, we do a lot of climbing in the Assassin's Creed games, so I think that makes sense there. Deception for hiding in crowds and things like that. Expertise, we've gone for acrobatics and stealth. I think they're pretty self-explanatory in an Assassin's game. Obviously, we get sneak attack as a rogue, which is fantastic. Thieves' Cant, we can communicate with other assassins. Cunning action allows us to move around the battlefield very quickly. As a bonus action, we can take the dash, disengage, or hide. For our roguish archetype, you'd think we've gone assassin, but no. We've actually gone for thief. It does seem more relevant to actually go down this thief line because, well, I'll show you. So third level feature, Fast Hand. You can use a bonus action granted by your cunning action to make a dexterity sleight of hand check, use your thieves tools to disarm a trap or open a lock, or take the use an object action. So this gives us a little bit more options with our cunning action, so just makes it a little bit quicker for us. And this is the feature as to why I chose this. Second story work. When you choose this archetype at third level, you gain the ability to climb faster than normal. Climbing no longer costs you any extra movement. In addition, when you make a running jump, the distance you cover increases by a number of feet equal to your dexterity modifier. So you spend a lot of time on the rooftops and things in the AC games, so second story work I think fits actually way better than the assassin trope does, and we're going to have plenty of homebrew items to amplify that. We have sneak attack still as a rogue, which works as as well as the assassin feature, I think anyway. So that's why we've gone for thief as opposed to assassin. For our ability score improvement at level 4, we've gone for a double into dexterity, just to make us very effective in combat and what we're best at doing. Uncanny dodge at 5th level. When an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to halve that attack's damage against you. We get expertise at 6th level, another 2. We've gone for deception and perception. Tracking targets, really important, as well as deception, blending into crowds when we need to tail a target. Also gone for evasion because he is a very, very dexterous character as well as strong. I often find that I guess the best way to play, especially AC2, is to parry and then attack. Basically, within D&D means when we make a dexterity saving throw, we're going to take half damage on a failure and none on a success. Really, really good. Our ability score improvement at level 8, we max out our dexterity by going double dip into there. At 9th level we get Supreme Sneak. We have advantage on dexterity stealth checks if you move no more than half your speed in the same turn. This isn't particularly good because you can just pick up like a Cloak of Elvenkind or something that just gives you advantage out the gate, but it fits with the character hiding in tall grass, things like that, as long as you're moving slowly and crouching kind of thing. At 10th level, we've gone for another ability score improvement, this time Intelligence and Constitution, just to bring our kind of tracking numbers up, our intelligence on the battlefield, as well as a bit of our health. As you progress throughout the game, your health does increase as you increase your synchronization and things as you explore the map, so we're going for that as well there. To round out this first edition of Ezio Auditore, we've gone for 3 levels in Battlemaster Fighter just to make us proficient with everything that we want, and that means we can wear any armor we want as well. So proficiencies: light armor, medium armor, shield, simple weapons, martial weapons, which we definitely needed because prior to this we'd only be using daggers and things like that, which is good, which does suit an assassin, but you can see in the game, especially in ACT, you can wield loads of different kinds of weapons, so we needed to kind of broaden our horizons a little bit there. For our fighting style, we've gone for dueling. When you are wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you get a +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. He generally uses the swords, which was what I used the most in the game. That's what you have kind of standard with one hand, almost like a fencing style approach to it. We do have second wind, we can get a little bit of healing. Our action surge at 2nd level as well, we take another action. Makes sense if we need to unleash a flurry of blows against someone. For our martial archetype, we have gone for Battlemaster, which gives us combat superiority, which means we have maneuvers, which means we can do a few of these a day, and gives ourselves the upper hand and more options in combat. For our Student of War, we have gone with Tinker's Tools. I didn't put much thought into that. We have a very kind of limited set, I guess. I thought Tinker's would be a good way to make sure we can repair our hidden gun and all those kind of things. Make sure our hidden blade is up to snuff and things like that. I thought Tinker's Tool made sense. For our maneuvers, we've gone for a parry, so when we get damaged by an attack we can roll a superiority die to reduce the damage a little bit. We also have riposte, which is one of the best features in the game. When you kind of dodge out the way of an attack, you can then use a melee attack as a reaction and do a little bit more damage to it with this maneuver. And I've gone for a precision attack as well. When you make a weapon attack roll against a creature, you can spend 1 superiority die to add it to the roll. So that is just when you really, really need to hit. So for example, with a hidden blade, for example, you're trying to assassinate someone, you can just give yourself advantage if you wouldn't have it already. That rounds out the class options there. For abilities, I did just manually input these. We've gone for a pretty heroic set. We've got 15, 15, 13, 13, 10 and 14 across the board, with our physical stats taking priority for the most part. But he's a bit of a player in the games as well, so we've made sure to stick some points in charisma just to make sure that comes across as well, because Ezio is a fan favourite and I think it's clear to see why. Moving forwards, we go over to this description. He is of a noble background, he's of noble descent, so we're going to go for noble there, which gives us proficiency with history and persuasion. We have a position of privilege, so we know a few people basically, and I guess if the common folk knew who we were, because we're trying to blend in this particular case, if they knew who we were, maybe they would show some more respect, but we're an assassin for this game, so probably not. Right, now we're there, let's jump into the character sheet. Okay, so now let's take a look at our inventory. So we have tons of items that I've made for this particular character, and we're just going to use some basic ones to round it out as well. So obviously, as I mentioned, we do have a couple of spells. Find Familiar and Illusory Script just to represent the eagle in the game, just so we can, I guess, see through the eagle's eyes, things like that. And then Illusory Script for our talking to other assassins, leaving notes, things like that. Kind of trying to lean into the role play a little bit more there. But inventory-wise, we'll go from the least rare up to the most rare, I guess. So we start with the Polymath Parachute. Famously, Da Vinci was known as a polymath, and he does design a lot of the fun gear in the game for you. Leonardo da Vinci this is. This is designed for quick traversal across a landscape from a high vantage point, or to slower fall in a pinch. So generally, obviously, we have a lot of fly spells in D&D, but a mechanical way to do it, so with something like a parachute, hasn't really been covered too much. So I figured what we could do is expand on some of the rules that are already there. So we've gone for a creature proficient in athletics and acrobatics can move up to its normal speed in a horizontal and generally downwards trajectory while falling with the parachute, so you're not completely just out of control. But essentially you can deploy this almost as from a backpack as a parachute, as a reaction while falling, or as an action otherwise. It requires at least 10 foot to deploy, and it needs at least 60 feet to be able to slow you down basically. So if you jump off something, you can survive in theory, and it takes approximately 10 minutes to pack back up at the end. So they wouldn't be too cheap, I wouldn't think, for something like this. Next up we just have, because you use so many weapons in AC2, I have just gone for a rapier +2. It seems to fit best. I don't think it's a short sword or a long sword really. I do think a rapier fits more the style of play within the Assassin's Creed games for Ezio, and I guess Altair before him. What I'm going to do is go over to the poison blade that I've created here. So this is a modification to the hidden blade that changes its properties from a stealthy assassination weapon to a disruptive utility item. It's laced with a specially crafted poison that causes vivid hallucinations. You must be attuned to a hidden blade weapon for this item to function, of which you can probably see there we have a hidden blade +2 and a couple of items, which I'll go through. As an action, you can forego dealing your normal weapon damage to administer a fact-acting hallucinogenic poison instead. Make a melee attack while using your hidden blade. On a hit, the target is subjected to poison and must succeed on a DC 16 charisma saving throw or be affected by it for 1 minute. A creature immune to poison is not affected. On a failed save, the creature takes 48 poison damage, can't take reactions, and rolls a d4 to determine what it does its next turn. We have a few options there. We have the creature does nothing, the creature makes a random melee attack against the nearest creature it can see, or the creature uses all of its movement to move in a random direction. A creature repeats the saving throw at the end of its turns, or it just goes for the full duration, and it's a fairly expensive poison as well. I've put a few kind of recommendations in the bottom there because this is quite a powerful ability, and this goes into the game where you can literally just shank someone just in the hip and the guards start going crazy. You can make a good distraction, things like that. But you have to have an attuned hidden blade to be able to use this. Bear that in mind. Next up we have Ezio Auditore's crossbow. Nothing too fancy here, it is literally just a crossbow in game. So this is Ezio's personal crossbow, crafted from the finest wood and reinforced with light metals, a carved feather filigree and the visage of an eagle. It's a +1 crossbow. I believe I've made it as a hand crossbow, and it has the light as a feather feature. This crossbow can be used effortlessly with one hand from acrobatic positions. You don't suffer disadvantage when targeting a creature while climbing or performing any other acrobatic feat. And Silent Assassin. Firing this crossbow is completely inaudible to any creature that isn't within 5 feet. So I'm just trying to make these things a little bit more unique than rather than just them being +1 weapons in this particular case. So this is a very, very silent crossbow. Next up, we have a hidden blade, which is a fairly simple weapon as well. I do need to change these. I did forget to do it to ignore the thrown property, because these wouldn't be able to be thrown because we've made them as daggers essentially. But it's a magical mechanical contraption built into a gauntlet or bracer that allows the wearer to discreetly extend or retract a small blade. Its origin is ancient, its design a well-guarded secret, and generally only used by master assassins. As a bonus action, you can retract the blade into the attached bracer or gauntlet, or extend it from there. While it's extended, you can use the weapon as if you were holding it. You can't use that hand for any other purposes. This is the +2 version. There is a +1 and a +3 should you need it. You just need to search the same thing, Hidden Blade +2 bracket NGTE, you should find them. It has the advantageous critical feature in this very rare state. If you have advantage on your attack roll, your weapon attacks with this weapon score a critical hit on an 18, 19 or 20. Pretty monstrous. So if you're rolling with advantage, you've got a high chance to do that, and this is to emphasize that assassin technique that you have with the hidden blade in game. Next up we have, I believe, an item that's come from Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I've researched a few armor sets and a few weapon sets that I wanted to try and cover. We have the Dagger of Brutus, which is one of the best items in the game. Modeled after a Roman Pugio, this is a deadly short blade responsible for many famous assassinations. It is a +2 weapon. It's considered very rare, does require attunement. It has the feature Brutus. Immediately after reducing a creature to 0 hit points with this weapon, you can cast the Fear spell, DC 17. Once you use this property, it can't be used again until the next dawn. We have a small little flavour quote at the bottom here. I'm not a violent man, but I ready my family's heirloom dagger. I pull my toga up into a cowl and leave for the celebration. And that's Brutus preparing to assassinate Julius Caesar in 44 BCE. Within the game, it does have a fear effect. It reduces morale when you kill someone. The rest of the guys usually run away, so that's why we've gone for the fear spell there. And to round out, we do have the armor of Brutus as well. A virtually unbreakable, once belonging to the hidden one Marcus Junius Brutus, same as the dagger. Uniquely bulky for assassin armor, although it does not slow you down. Decorated with ornate furs, and the right pauldron is a silver eagle holding the scarlet red cape in place while you're wearing it. Any critical hit against you becomes a normal hit. It has an adamantine property. You have a +2 bonus to AC while wearing it, and while attuned to this armor you gain the following benefits. Oh, and this is a breastplate, by the way, that requires attunement. Your constitution score increases by 2, as does your maximum for that score. You have advantage on charisma intimidation checks against other humanoids. I leave my family's armor here, one of the finest sets ever made. May you who finds it receive strength in battle. which is his writings on the first scroll of Romulus. And I believe this perfectly kind of represents what it does in game, makes you more healthy and basically half makes you invulnerable for the most part. It's considered unbreakable. I thought I'd try and emulate that here. So that rounds out everything for the AC2 early Brotherhood kind of. We're mixing all three games together here, so I wanted to spread the items out across the two characters that I made. But that is Ezio Auditore de Firenze from Assassin's Creed 2 in his younger years, I guess you could say. And now let's go into the big boy. Okay, so now we are at Ezio Auditore de Firenze from Revelations, so late game basically, when he's much older. It was said that, reading into it, he almost has like magical powers. He didn't seem to feel the effects of aging till he was very, very old. So we're emulating that here. All the choices are the same on the variant human state. We do have obviously a few more levels in Rogue, so I'll run you through that now. At 11th level, we do get reliable talent. Whenever we make an ability check that lets you add your proficiency bonus, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. So ridiculous. We can no longer roll natural ones on stealth or anything like that. Our ability score improvement went for a double into intelligence as he got older, better at tracking, better at identifying targets, things like that. Just perfect. Obviously now Dex is already maxed out. At 13th level, the use of magic items and strange artifacts comes more into Assassin's Creed as the games have gone on. Obviously you interact with the Apple of Eden in the first game, spoilers, and loads of other artifacts across the course of the games. So I figured use magic device would be great to save for this character. You've learned enough about the workings of magic that you can improvise the use of items even when they are not intended for you. You ignore all class, race and level requirements on the use of magic items. Really, really cool. It kind of fits in with the lore there of Ezio being exposed to these strange pieces of Eden and things like that across the course of the games. At 14th level we do get blind sense as well. If we are able to hear, you are aware of the location of any hidden or invisible creature within 10 feet of you. Our senses are honed. We are without a doubt a master assassin at this point. And 15th, Slippery Mind. You have acquired greater mental strength. We gain proficiency in wisdom, saving throws. So again, exposure to magical items and all kinds of trickery over the years has led us to just be more steadfast in our mental ability to stave off effects. To round out the fighter features, I believe we're at a 3rd level before. We now have the 4th level, which means we've gone for a double into Constitution. As he gets older, he's obviously going to get a little bit more healthy as he reaches his prime, and as I mentioned, he seems to be superhuman in some capacities, so a bit more Constitution to round out the character here as we approach level 20. And then 5th level, obviously we do get an extra attack as a fighter. For our abilities, again, exactly the same, nothing more to see here. Let's jump into the character sheet. Okay, so welcome to Ezio Auditore de Firenze, the Revelations, the final version of this particular character, the level 20, the capstone version. As you can see, we have a few new items. It is assumed that this character would also have everything the previous character had, so the poison blade and things like that, but we're just keeping them separate for the purposes of this video, just so I can show you the advancements, basically, in the technology that he uses. And you can see we've got a few more things here. You see multiple hidden blades and things like that. I just thought I'd show you. So let's get the hidden blade +3 out the way first. This is what it says on the tin. It's the same as the +2 but a +3 instead. Same bonus, a crit on an 18, 19 or 20. What I'm going to do is remove that from the inventory just to relieve a bit of clutter. Now we have another mod for the hidden blades actually. This is the hook blade. It has 3 charges and it's a modification that changes it from a stealthy assassination weapon to aid swift movement vertically. You also have more precision when pickpocketing and provides more options in combat. You must be attuned to a hidden blade weapon to this item to function. It is considered a +1 to attack dagger, same as all the others. While we have this equipped, we gain the following benefits. The hook blade allows you to maneuver across vertical surfaces more swiftly. Once per turn you can move an additional 10 feet while climbing without expending any extra movement. You have advantage on sleight of hand checks to pickpocket another creature. And we also have a hook attack. When you hit a creature with this weapon, you can attempt to knock the target down. If the creature is larger or smaller, it must make a strength saving throw. DC 15. On a failed save, you knock the target prone. If you had advantage on the attack, the target has disadvantage on the saving throw. You can use this feature up to 3 times per day. All charges reset at dawn. So it is said in the game you use the hook blade for loads of things, climbing, in combat as well. So I thought I'd try and encapsulate a really, really cool item, an attachment for one of your hidden blades, if you have 2, who knows. We also have another attachment, the hidden gun, which when I found out this was going to be in the game was just incredible. I remember my reaction. I was like, you're an assassin, what are you going to use a gun for? But really, really fun. It's another modification that is attached alongside the blade. And you need a smith, a firearms expert or a tinkerer to help you attune to this, and it's for those that when you basically when stealth's out the window. You must be attuned to a hidden blade, same as the others. It has a +2 pistol is what it's considered, and because it's a unique firearm, this wrist-mounted pistol must be reloaded after every shot, and while attuned to this weapon you gain proficiency with firearms. So it has that little bonus to make sure that you're good with this particular weapon, as you really are in game. You have really good range on it as well. We've got a little bit of flavour there. It seems to be a kind of arma da fuoco, but as small as a hummingbird. That's Leonardo da Vinci regarding the hidden guns design. That is considered very rare, by the way, because that's a powerful thing just to have in your pocket. We do have the hidden blade of the Creed, which is a altered version of the +3. Rather than critting on an 18, 19 or 20, it just straight up gives you the assassinate feature instead. So this would be, I guess, the ultimate goal of any assassin, to get a blade like this. We have advantage on attack rolls against a creature that hasn't taken a turn in combat yet. In addition, any hit you score with this hidden blade against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. It literally gives you the assassinate feature from the assassin rogue subclass. So if you wanted to play it that way, you can do that here, and that's the hidden blade of the Creed, also considered legendary. We have two sets of armor here. I'm currently equipped. I have the armor of Altair and the sword of Altair, which we're going to leave, but the armor of Ishak Pasha is a really cool armor set that you can acquire in game as well, and well, I'll read it out to you. Once belonging to an Ottoman general and covert assassin, Ishak Pasha, it was said to hold mystical powers due to bearing a cursed marking. It is a +2 breastplate, and while attuned to this armor you gain the following benefits. You gain resistance to piercing damage, and you have the cursed deflection feature. Whenever you are hit by a ranged weapon attack, roll a d6. If the result is a 5 or a 6, you take no damage, and the missile is deflected back at the attacker. As a result, the attacker then takes damage equal to double the amount of damage you would have taken. So really, really cool, and a bit more magical as the later games have been. They're more in tune with magical elements of the universes they explore, so I thought I'd try and explore that a little bit here, even though, you know, the older games aren't so much. But this cursor deflection, really, really cool. So it just smites your foes when they try to hit you with an arrow or a gun, whatever it might be, and in the game the armor does have a chance to deflect bullets and things like that. So we've represented that fantastically well. Here, I actually might change the rarity of this down to very rare, I think. Yeah, I might do, we'll see. But to round out these builds, we do have the capstones, the artifact level weapons and armor. So the armor of Altair, a +3 armor set, constructed using the knowledge acquired from the Apple of Eden. Small gold and metal portions make up this armor's details, along with many layers of black leathers. Unlike most, the chestplate here is not a single piece of metal, as most Assassin's gear is. This one is made up of several overlapping metal guards. It is a +3 breastplate, and while attuned to it you gain Dex increases by 2, as does our maximum. Strength increases by 2, as does our maximum. You gain the Constructed from Eden feature. You have advantage on all saving throws against spells and magical effects. It is possessed of great strength, yet so light to allow complete freedom. And that is Altair's description of the armor in a codex in game. So really, really fun, packed with lore. And then we get to the bread and butter, which is the sword of Altair. This is a magical rapier, is how it's attuned, and it has 2 charges. The sword of Altair was the personal sword of the significant power wielded by Altair through much of his life as an assassin. The sword bears a signature eagle pommel and is exceptionally thin and well balanced, allowing for nimble feats of swordplay. Its exposure to the pieces of Eden has dramatically expanded what the sword is capable of. You have a +3 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon, and while attuned to it you gain the following benefits. Synchronized. While attuned to the sword, you regain 1d6 hit points at the start of your turn if you have at least 1 hit point. And that is the resistance in game. Obviously the synchronization feature, when you reach 100%, you usually get something really cool. It's about collecting collectibles and things like that, and you're pretty much a machine. We'll go for a more gamey vibe here when you regen your health. We also have the Lore Seeker feature. You crave knowledge and are determined to solve a mystery, learn a secret, or unravel a cryptic prophecy surrounding artifacts or items of historical significance. So you do find that in Assassin's Creed games, this is what you spend a lot of your time doing. So I thought I'd build that into the item. The magical presence of it urges you to do so. We have a piece of Eden exposure. While attuned to the sword, you can use an action to cast legend lore from it, as long as you have the material components on your person, which the spell consumes. After you cast the spell, roll a d6. On a 1 to 5, you can't cast it again until the next dawn. On a d6, you can just do it again. Incredible. I love it. And then finally we have Ancestral Echoes. You can will the spirit of an ancestor bolster your abilities. While attuned to the sword, you can use an action to cast haste from it. Once you use this property, it cannot be used again until the next dawn. So that I had in mind. I wanted to make this sword really exceptional. That I had in mind of, it's got the power of all these ancestors that you've had before, depending on when you use it. You know, obviously we're talking about Ezio here, so the only one we know of before that would be Altair, but you know, it's all just for flavour, right? It's all a bit of fun. I imagine that when you swing it, you see an echo of the previous assassin swinging with you and just giving your attacks a little bit more oomph, making sure you can't be hit, and means you get the speed that they did, things like that. It's all for flavour. I'm sure if you're a fan, I'm sure that's why you're here. You wanted to see what this looks like. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Legend Forge, where we take characters from pop culture and we mould them into the D&D format the best we can. If you enjoyed this one, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. This has been Nathrandir's Guide to Everything, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.